The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Safina Insecticide, and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
All right, we're at Crop Connect 2020 here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, joined by Tammy Jones, weed specialist with Manitoba Agriculture. And Tammy, over the last year or so, we've been hearing about water hemp here in Manitoba, north of the border. Can you fill us in on what we know heading into the 2020 growing season and what we need to be doing about it?
So I think everyone was surprised when we found that there was water hemp in Manitoba, and not in just one spot, but we have 5 municipalities within the province with more than one field in each of those municipalities. So it's not just a one-off, it's more than that. And so we've heard the disaster stories from the US as far as water hemp, and then its ugly cousin Palmer amaranth, and what it can do as far as yield impact and challenges as far as keeping it under control. So what we've done in Manitoba is we've tested that water hemp that we found. When someone brings it to us, we do test it to see what kind of herbicide resistance there is, and some of it is easy, quick tests, PCR analysis. And so we do know that there's group 9 resistance and group 2 resistance in the populations that are coming to us. It's like a stacked trait and bonus with the water hemp that's already hard to kill. So we do know that. We do know that there's still some herbicides that are effective on it though too. And so that's the great part about being able to know that it's water hemp, because it grows way faster than red root pigweed, so it's harder to control. So knowing that it's actually a harder to control weed, that gets us to be a little bit more proactive. And then knowing what levels of herbicide resistance or what types of herbicide resistance, then we know where to focus our efforts on. So if we don't report it and we don't know about it, a lot more challenging to manage. But once we start to, get some of those tools, then we're off to the races. So it's very competitive. It likes water, and I think we might be headed towards a more wet spring and some potential from flooding. And if we look into North Dakota and water hemp, every county below Manitoba, directly south of Manitoba, has had a water hemp detection. So if we don't have it now, and we do see some excess moisture coming in from the US, there's a good chance that we might see a few more patches pop up, and we were already surprised at how much we saw this year.
You mentioned red root pigweed.
Mm-hmm.
What are some characteristics of this water hemp plant? This is tall water hemp, to be specific.
So water hemp is where I'm at. I'm not a botanist, for one. I try to keep it as simple as possible. But the other thing is that there's been so much either hybridization between tall and common that we can't really distinguish, or they were initially one species and they've just differentiated out. Either way, chicken and egg, doesn't matter. We just have this spectrum of tall and common water hemp biotypes that we call water hemp, and we try to just control them. Now, compared to red root pigweed, grows faster, germinates longer. So I've seen it germinate into August and still set seed in Manitoba. So that's quite daunting, because nobody wants to be spraying in August. And then the herbicide resistance part of it makes it challenging to control it with herbicides at that point. So it can be quite tall. It can set up to about 1 million seeds a plant in a non-competitive situation. When it's with a crop, maybe 200,000 seeds per plant, and there are male and female plants. So it's different than red root pigweed that has both male and female flowers on the same plant. One of the key visual differences when it's little is hairs. Red root pigweed is fuzzy. Water hemp is smooth. And that does take a close look. So a hand lens or that magnifier on your iPhone or your smartphone, whatever it is, just to be able to take a really close look. Yeah. Okay.
So if a producer suspects they have a patch, or in these cases where patches have been found, how are they being treated?
Okay, so we do have the Noxious Weeds Act in Manitoba, which is a piece of legislation where tall water hemp is listed on there, and so we consider the water hemp plants here tall water hemp from that perspective, and that means that we require legally that they're destroyed. And that doesn't mean just spray it and hope it dies. That means if it doesn't die because of herbicide or tillage or harvest, that we're out there hand pulling it, we're preventing seed set, we're doing everything possible to eradicate that weed in that field. And the reason is not just because we don't like it, but because we know it has huge potential for economic impact. And farming is our future. Why would we not want to eradicate it? It's a really small seed, just like red root pigweed, so it's easy to move around. So we do know that sometimes it's introduced with equipment. We do know that it's spread by waterfowl and also by water. So lots of different ways that it could come in. We do need to be vigilant. I think that surveillance is our number one opportunity. If it's been in a small patch, it's been great. We go out, we pull it, we bag it, we compost it. I've even taken some home and buried it in the pit at home because I just want it gone. And so that's my job. Help guys make sure that they know what it is and then come up with a management plan over the next maybe 5 or 10 years to make sure that we do really get rid of it. There's lots of options out there. They're not maybe immediately apparent to everyone. And it's one where it's not just herbicides that are going to help us. Cover crops are going to be a key in managing this weed, or wheat and canola, because you harvest them earlier and you can use different herbicides. So our crop rotations and our diversity should keep us way ahead of this weed as long as we focus on that opportunity rather than focus on the problem.
Okay, and focus on finding it if it is
surveillance. Look for it. Detections are number one. Lots of those detections this year were really small patches. 2 of them weren't. And one of those patches, about 3 years ago, he figures there was a couple of plants in the field, and this year we destroyed over 30 acres to try and get rid of that patch and minimize seed set. So if you do a mental math calculation on 35 acres of really dense Waterhemp, it's expensive in the short term, but if you think about how much seed could be produced, it's over 305 billion seeds that could be produced in that 35 acre patch. So think about how much more it would cost over the next however long to kill those weeds than it is to kill them all right now.
Yeah.
So short-term pain, absolutely long-term gain.
Okay. And if producers are suspicious of something or agronomists, they can contact you, or what do you recommend?
Absolutely. I'm happy to come out. There are others who are well-versed in it as well. I mean, the University of Manitoba, Rob Golden's doing a good job as well. We only have so much time in the day, but if you send me a picture and I think it looks something like Waterhemp, I will be your best friend very quickly. Yeah, it's definitely my role within the province to make sure of that. And yeah, whatever I can do to help out.
All right. Well, thanks for coming over to our booth here, Tammy.
Oh, great to be here. Thanks.